Welcome to our new public affairs show, Morgantown Today. I'm your host, Megan Scarano.
And I'm Jillian Brooks. During this show, we will bring you a behind-the-scenes look on the issues that matter most to you, the viewer.
We will also interview policymakers, politicians, and community leaders who influence and impact those decisions made right here in Morgantown.
The topic we will be discussing today is the homeless issue in our community. We will be discussing everything from how law enforcement handles the issue, as well as the resources available in town.
In West Virginia, there are around 1,500 homeless people. In 2018, about 82% of them were sheltered, while the other 18% were unsheltered. Around the area in the city of Morgantown has many organizations that help the homeless. Our two guests are from prominent organizations right here in Morgantown, from Health Right and the Morgantown Police Department.
Our first guest today is Officer Stephen Bennett. Officer Bennett has worked for MPD for 20 years and is the day shift downtown beat officer.
Laura Jones is the director at Health Right, which is a community-supported clinic for the underinsured.
Thanks for coming in today. So our first question, which is open to either of you, what are some of the reasons that individuals are homeless in town?
Well, I'll start on this one first. So every year the federal government requires local communities at the end of January to do a point-in-time survey. And we have some preliminary numbers from our point-in-time survey, and we don't just count people, we also ask them a number of questions, and one of the questions is just that: why are you homeless here in Morgantown? And I can't really talk specific numbers right now because we haven't released the data yet, but I can tell you that the largest reason that people say that they're homeless is that rent is unaffordable.
Is there not enough low-income housing in the city of Morgantown?
That would be correct. Not enough low-income housing, certainly.
What about you, Officer Bennett? What are the common reasons that people are homeless in Morgantown?
I think some people have addiction issues with certain drugs, also mental health issues that prevents them from, getting a place to live.
And how severe is the homeless situation in Morgantown? Can you tell us from your downtown shift, what does it look like?
Well, a lot of people you see downtown who wandering around aren't actually homeless. There are a few that are, but I think that our number of homeless people in our area is actually lower than what it has been.
Now, Officer Bennett, can you tell us what the Morgantown Police Department's take on the homeless situation is?
Well, being homeless is not illegal. A lot of people see people hanging out downtown, hanging out on the sidewalks, just not going anywhere. It's not illegal for people to congregate and gather. It's protected by the Constitution, so we can't just go down and run people off the street. And a lot of people want us to do that, but we can't do it. It's their right to gather. I think that our homeless numbers have decreased in recent years. The people that do come downtown aren't all homeless all the time.
It's interesting that you say that it's not illegal to hang out downtown. When we were watching the city council work session a couple months ago, Ed Preston really elaborated on panhandling and loitering and why he can't arrest people for doing that. Can you explain to our viewers?
Panhandling in and of itself is not illegal. We do have a code for aggressive solicitation, but in order to be charged for that, you have to be within so many feet of a bank or an ATM. You have to stand, block somebody's path, grab a hold of them, ask them for money repeatedly, follow and harass them before you can get charged with that. Just asking somebody for money is actually protected.
So if I did have an aggressive situation, what could I do if I called the Morgantown Police? What would come of that?
You would call 911 and an officer would come down there and witness something happen in his presence, or if there's, you or other witnesses are present, then we can bring charges for that.
Is it often that you guys receive calls for complaints like that?
We do receive them, yeah. Not as much as what you would think, but we do receive calls.
Now, I'm very curious. If you find yourself there in an aggressive situation with a homeless person, what do you suggest for somebody to do?
Do everything you can to get yourself out of that situation. Walk away, walk backwards. Don't try to confront or take care of something yourself. That's what we're there to do. The best thing I can recommend is to try to do what you can to get yourself out of that situation and call 911 to call for help or to get someone else there with you to help you.
Now, Laura, can you maybe elaborate on the services that Health Right gives to these people who are homeless and are seeking, help or services from your organization?
Certainly. Milan Puskar Health Right provides free primary medical care to people without insurance, people who have insurance that doesn't cover everything, and also people that have Medicaid. And because of the Affordable Care Act, a number of folks that might be experiencing homelessness now actually have Medicaid, so they're eligible for our services. So we provide the full range of mental health and medical care. And then we also took over a program called the Friendship Room, which we now call Friendship House. And that is a drop-in center that is designed specifically for people with mental health or substance abuse issues who are seeking help with recovery. And we get a lot of folks from the folks that stay at Bartlett House and some folks that are living unsheltered, what we call rough sleeping. And it gives them a place to be during the day and to stay warm or cool depending on the season. And also we provide food and activities and try to help people move towards recovery and get stabilized and get into housing as well. So we work with other local agencies to try to get people housed.
Can you explain maybe some of those other local agencies that do help you guys out?
Sure. Bartlett Housing Solutions is one of those agencies that helps get people into housing. And also the Coalition to End Homelessness, which is based in Clarksburg, also has folks that come up and work with people. And they typically have funding through HUD and other federal programs to help us actually pay the first month's rent and the security deposit and get people into housing.
It's really incredible. How successful has that program been so far?
It's been very successful. So you may have seen in the paper that we did an initiative in the month of December to try to get 20 people housed, and we were able to get almost 27 people into housing during that period of time, and including families and individuals. And so we're hoping to ride that wave of collaboration and continue doing that. And so far that's happening. We're still housing people in January. So we hope to eventually get to a place where we have very few people that don't have housing.
So you explained about helping people into recovery. Can you tell us about the services that Health Right provides, or maybe a program that they have?
There are a lot of different ways for people to access recovery. Health Right provides a harm reduction program and syringe exchange that identifies people that are using drugs and works not only to keep them safe from infectious disease, but also to help them access housing and try to help stabilize their lives so that they can start to think about treatment. It's a very long process for most people to get into treatment. Not because, well, sometimes because treatment options aren't available, but more so because opioids are so addictive that it's extremely difficult to even think about a life without them once you become addicted. For folks that are thinking about recovery, and so basically we say any small step toward recovery is any small step that you do. And one of those small steps might be to come to a harm reduction program. Another might be to come to the drop-in center, the Friendship House, and talk to one of our peer recovery coaches and really develop a plan that will help you meet those goals. So all of our recovery coaches have lived experience with addiction or mental illness, and they are available to share ideas and develop plans for people to move in that direction.
Can you describe more of the LIGHT program and why you think it's beneficial for the homeless people who are seeking recovery?
Yes. The LIGHT program is a harm reduction syringe access program at Health Right, and it operates primarily to decrease the incidence of HIV and Hep C and Hep B and endocarditis and MRSA and cellulitis, all of the diseases or infections that can be caused by sharing needles or using the same needle over and over again. And so that's the primary reason for the program. But once we have folks in the program, we have peer recovery coaches available. We every time someone comes, we ask them if they're ready to talk about treatment today, because we know that there are windows of opportunity, and we want to make sure that we take that opportunity when people are ready to talk about it. Our program is completely non-judgmental. We meet people where they are, and so our goal is to get as many people who are using or injecting drugs into our clinic as possible.
Right. So if they're going to use safely, and then hopefully continue to visit your center, and then be pushed into treatment and recovery.
And we've gotten people into treatment. They've come back and then volunteered for the Light Project. We get people into primary care, which is something that a lot of folks don't do because they're afraid to tell their doctor that they're using drugs. But at our clinic, they already know that we know that, so it's a lot easier to be able to do that. It's very controversial. People have a lot of emotional reaction to it. And it does seem like the exact opposite of what you would want to do. Why would you want to give someone using drugs syringes that just helps them use drugs? But they will find a way to use drugs regardless of whether they have a clean syringe. So the idea is that by giving them clean syringes, we can reach them in ways that we wouldn't be able to otherwise.
Thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
Yeah, I know that is definitely a controversial topic that came up in the city council meetings that we watched. But I think it's very interesting that you're just giving the step forward to say, let's do it safely. Now, can you explain to us at HealthRight how you help the homeless individuals who may be suffering from a mental illness?
People experiencing homelessness often have mental illness or substance abuse. Substance abuse is a form of mental illness. It's a mental health concern. And those folks often need counseling. It's very difficult to counsel someone who's living on the street because their lives are so chaotic and they're in crisis mode. They're in survival mode. But what we do is work with them both through counseling and through case management to help stabilize their lives. We make sure they're hooked up to everything they possibly are eligible for, such as food stamps and clothing vouchers, you name it. We try to make sure that we can get what they need. We even have a shower for people who are living rough sleeping so that they can come and shower before a job interview. And so all of that assists in mental health and stability for people. So we do provide counseling. We also are very soon going to provide medication-assisted treatment for people who are using opioids. And we hope that having that program in our clinic right downtown will increase the likelihood that people will benefit from that treatment.
Do you know how soon that new treatment may come into play?
We're hoping it's March, but I'm going to say probably closer to April.
Now, if there are mentally ill homeless people on the streets of Morgantown hanging around or panhandling or loitering, how do you protect your residents of the city of Morgantown?
Well, we protect the residents. Well, we'll go up and make contact with the person who might be in mental crisis. If we feel like they might need to go to the hospital, we'll try to talk them into going to the hospital to talk to someone. Cases that are less severe, I've actually taken people to HealthRight before to see if they could get set up with some type of treatment option. Another thing we've done several times is an involuntary mental hygiene commitment where we actually take them into custody, or we go to fill out the paperwork to prove that they're a threat to themselves or others. And then they'll be taken into custody. We'll have a hearing, and then they'll be evaluated at places like Chestnut Ridge for treatment.
Can I add to that?
Of course.
One point I want to make is that people that experience homelessness and or people with mental illness, the majority of them are not dangerous to anyone. And most people with mental health concerns are more a danger to themselves than they are to others. So it's really important to get that awareness out there. There's always one situation that everybody points to and remembers, and that makes it seem like there's a lot more danger than there really is. So I just want to clarify that most people with mental illness and or people who are homeless are not a danger to other people.
I would agree with that.
They
They're
look-
more a danger to themselves.
Yeah, and they often look different and act different, but they are not dangerous.
I think that's a very good point that you brought up, and it's important that our viewers do understand that, because I think a lot of people do see somebody as homeless as a threat, and 9 times out of 10, they're usually not, and like you stated, they're just more of a threat to themselves.
Absolutely.
So for those individuals who do have a mental health illness and usually need to be put on medication or even therapy, how would they go about doing so?
Both of those, both medication and therapy is available at HealthRight. If people are uninsured, we have ways of accessing free medications to make sure that they get the medications they need. We also, as I said, offer therapy. And then folks that have Medicaid, they are able to get their medication by just going to a regular pharmacy. Sometimes they can't afford their copays. And in that case, HealthRight will try to figure out a way to cover the costs of their $2 or $3 copays. It doesn't seem like that would be a big deal, the $2 or $3 copay for medication, but a lot of times people have more than one, and if you have a $2 or $3 copay for every one, then it really adds up. So we help in that process as well. We do have psychiatrists. They're both volunteers at our clinic, and visits to them are scarce. We try to get as many people seen as possible. But folks with Medicaid can also access services at Chestnut Ridge Center through Chestnut Ridge, and also through Valley Comprehensive Health Center, Mental Health Center.
Now, with these medications, is someone making sure that these people are taking their medications responsibly, or they're actually taking them?
So you can't force people to take their medication. That is one issue. And for people with severe and persisting psychiatric illness who are possibly likely to be hospitalized, we have a special program where we have social workers who work with a small number of people, and their job is to make sure that those folks stay stable in the community. So they check regularly to see if they've picked up their medications or if they're taking their medications. They make sure they have food, and they make sure they have paid their rent, and all of the things that might trip someone up and cause difficulty. If you're hospitalized for a period of time, who pays your rent? Who keeps up on your bills? So a lot of times you come out of the hospital and things are in chaos. And our job is to fix that chaos and help people be stable in the community. So we have 4 of those folks. 2 of them are in Morgantown, and 1 operates in Marion, and 1 operates in Preston County.
So I feel like today we're breaking a lot of the stigmas surrounding the homeless people, because you're right, one person does something wrong and apparently all the homeless people are mentally ill. But coming from the perspective of the police department, what do you see every day on a day-to-day basis in downtown Morgantown with the homeless?
Well, like you said, not everyone's mentally ill or have addiction issues. We run into people from all walks of life who might be out experiencing some type of crisis, or just they're on the street. So not everyone's the same, everyone's different. Downtown is a safe place to be. There's not many threats down there. A lot of times people see something and they think it might be a threat, but it's a stigma we need to get away from.
Now, as we're breaking the stigma, what do you think is the most appropriate way to address those maybe who do have a mental illness, who are homeless, who have addiction issues? What do you think is the most appropriate way?
Well, We at HealthRight feel that one of the ways that we keep our behavior focused on dignity and respect is by thinking about the words we use to talk about people. So it's really important that we stop using the word addict. We use the word people who use drugs. We use the words such as someone might have a substance use problem as opposed to they're an addict or a junkie or terms like that. The other thing that we do is try to stay away from words like these people, the homeless, because they aren't a homogenous group of people. Mm-hmm. They are very different. And so we try to use words like people experiencing homelessness. It's an experience they have. It's not part of who they are. Right now they lack housing. They're not the homeless. So those are, just by thinking about the words that you use to talk about people, can help you stay focused on the dignity and respect aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Laura, do you typically see a lot of success stories from the individuals that you come in contact with?
Absolutely. We see success stories in, sometimes they are small increments of success. We see people get housed. We see people successfully manage their mental illness. We see just a long list of positive things that happen to people and help them move forward.
Officer Bennett, how about you?
Yes, I've seen several success stories in my career, yeah.
What is something that our viewers can do that are sitting at home watching this and feel that, this story is pulling at their heartstrings? What can they do? Can they donate their time, clothes? What can they do?
Well, certainly donating time is possible. We have lots of volunteers that volunteer both at HealthRight and the Friendship House, as well as Christian Help, which is right next door to the Friendship House. One of the things that is a challenge for us when we house someone is making sure that they have household supplies. Cleaning supplies, donating cleaning supplies, blankets, clean bedding, those kinds of things can go to Christian Help. And those are the things that people really need. Sometimes furniture is needed. We put a call out, and anyone who happens to have an extra bed frame or an unused mattress, those are ways to help. And certainly all of the agencies in Morgantown accept monetary donations, including the United Way, which supports most of the agency programs downtown. So any way that you can give is helpful.
Before we go, is there anything about today's subject that we haven't touched that you would like the viewers at home to know?
I would just like to thank you for addressing this topic. I think it's important information that needs to get out to the public.
Thank you for addressing the topic and having us here today.
If any of our viewers at home would like to donate their time, money, or resources, you can visit the link at the bottom of your screen.
That's it for this edition of Morgantown Today. I'd like to thank our guest, Officer Steve Bennett of Morgantown Police Department and Laura Jones of HealthRight. Thank you for joining us and giving us more information about the homeless issue in our community. I'm Megan Scarano.
And I'm Jillian Brooks. This public affairs show is made possible through the WVU Reed College of Media and the City of Morgantown. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.